And she says she was detained by ICE agents overnight, and she says they took everyone and then asked questions later.
They just treated us like we were nothing.
Patricia Fisher says she came out to the hallway of her apartment complex on the corner of 75th and South Shore Drive in her nightgown around 10 Monday night, only to find ICE agents yelling police.
It was scary because I've never had a gun put in my face. They asked my name and my date of birth and asked me did I have any warrants, and I told them no, I didn't.
She says she was then handcuffed and released around 3 a.m. Fisher says she was told if anyone had any kind of warrant out for them, even if it was unrelated to immigration, they would not be released. Citizen-At video shows the chaotic scene overnight. Says budget trucks and military-style vans were used to separate parents from their children. Other neighbors say they saw agents destroying property to get in the building.
And they had a big 15-inch chainsaw with a round blade on it, cutting this fence down. We're under siege. We're being invaded by our own military.
The FBI did confirm this morning that they did help the U.S. Border Patrol carry out a targeted immigration enforcement operation in this area, and they say they have been supporting these efforts at the direction of the U.S. Attorney General.
We're getting new reports about a chilling and downright shocking escalation of ICE tactics against the residents of Chicago. In the middle of the night, hundreds of armed federal agents and police, backed up by riot trucks, smoke grenades, and helicopters, breached fences and busted doors in an immigration raid on an entire apartment building on the city's south side. They pulled dozens of residents from their homes and zip ties, including children, some of them without any clothes. They then held some outside for hours and dragged the others into rented vans.
It was scary because I've never had a gun put in my face.
One of them literally laughed. He was standing right here. He said, them kids.
They zip-tied the kids together. ICE put out a statement saying they were pursuing Trinidad gang members, but U.S. citizens living in the building say they were detained too. The cops told them that if they had any unrelated warrants, they wouldn't be going back home. 37 people were ultimately arrested after agents separated children from their parents on the street. And if you're looking at this and asking yourself, how is this legal? That is the right question to ask. And it has kind of an answer. And to understand it, you have to go back to Los Angeles this summer, where federal immigration agents started pushing the envelope on orders from the White House. They raided Home Depot parking lots and Walmart lots, and they grabbed people they saw. Near one Home Depot, masked agents with batons grabbed Narcisco Barranco, who has lived in the U.S. for more than 30 years and has 3 sons serving in the Marine Corps. Agents beat Barranco on the ground, dislocating his shoulder before detaining him. In Van Nuys, agents raided a car wash, remembering this, sending patrons and workers scrambling before the 79-year-old owner, who is a U.S. citizen named Rafi, tried to ask them what they were doing.
That is when Rafi was taken down by agents and eventually handcuffed. Rafi says he was injured in the process.
And they sit on me. It's in my elbow about a week ago. And it's in my arm.
Rafi says he and 5 others at his car wash were taken to a federal detention center downtown. We're still working to learn more about why they were detained.
And that man is not alone.
Look how you got my hand. You're twisting that. I'm American, bro. What hospital? Yo, these guys are literally based off of skin color. My homie was born here just because of the way he looks.
Agents kept stopping people they suspected of being undocumented immigrants for no reason other than they weren't obviously white. Like Brian Gavidia, the man you saw there, the 29-year-old American. He wasn't arrested, but he says agents went through his phone for 20 minutes and kept his real ID card. Now, these are obvious violations of people's core constitutional civil rights, their right to equal protection and the freedom from unlawful searches and seizures. And victims filed a class action lawsuit. And after an entire bench trial, a federal judge sided with those victims and ended the ICE sweeps. And in her ruling, she wrote, "It is illegal to conduct roving patrols which identify people based upon race alone, aggressively question them, and then detain them without a warrant, without their consent, and without reasonable suspicion that they are with status." Yes, it is. Yes, it is. An appeals court upheld her injunction against ICE. You have to stop doing this. And so the Trump administration took the issue to the Supreme Court. And lo and behold, last month, the court's 6-3 conservative majority voted to just let Trump and ICE continue for now as the case works its way up to use racial profiling in their immigration raids, halting the lower court's decision, saying, go ahead. Now, They gave no reasoning or explanation for their decision, silent, except Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who wrote a short concurring opinion saying there's absolutely no problem whatsoever with racially motivated stops by law enforcement. Quote, if the officers learn the individual they stopped is a U.S. citizen or otherwise lawfully in the U.S., they promptly let the individual go. Welcome to the era of what critics call the Kavanaugh stop. Carte blanche for ICE to continue violent, warrantless raids and stops all over the country to undocumented immigrants, lawful residents, and American citizens alike. Like Leonardo Garcia Venegas. You see him there, being cuffed roughly by ICE agents on a construction site where he was working. Vargas showed the agents his real ID as proof of citizenship, and they told him he was lying. And it took hours to get him out of custody, so not exactly expeditious. And then, get this, 2 weeks later, ICE arrested him again at another work site. He's now suing the government. The consequence of all this is what we're seeing now in the dead of night in Chicago. Dozens of federal agents raiding an entire apartment building with kids in it just to see what they can find. It's the most egregious abuse of our basic rights as Americans I've seen in a long time, maybe my lifetime. And it comes 2 weeks after Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem posted a hype video of another violent ICE raid with helicopters and grenades, this time on a house in the Chicago suburbs. And guess what? 2 U.S. citizens were mistakenly arrested. You know, there's a reason the American founders put the...
All right, Shalom. You reached the He Prayed channel. And my name is Isaac Mawath. First and foremost, I want to say call halalu, so I could call halalu. Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Harakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of 71319, where I learned this truth from, and who rule well. Salutations to the Bakiyar, the elect, the 144,000. That's 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. 12 tribes of Israel consist of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous of America. The 144,000 being the governing body within the one-third. The rest of the one-third comprises of men, women, and children. Shalom to the Israelites scattered due to the diaspora and also the triangular trade. So our people will look like many ethnicities, having various complexions. So this is not a black thing. We're not the black Hebrew Israelites. We're just Hebrew Israelites. Shalom to those that died in this truth. It says the dead should be raised up first. Those that will be accompanying Yahweh Shah on his return, including our King, King Mashah, who is King David. As always, it's an honor and privilege, honor and blessing to continue to do this work. The water Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah for answering my prayers and permitting me to do such. Baba Kashar Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah allowed us to be an edifying lesson to at least one member of the elect.
The right to be free from unlawful searches and seizures in the Bill of Rights from the start.
So, that's what I wanted to do. Gestapo. Reminds you of the Gestapo, right? Political police of Nazi Germany, which we're in the Fourth Reich of Nazi Germany here in the United States, alluding to Project Paperclip, where half of those scientists went to the United States and the other half went to the Soviet Union. It says the Gestapo, or Geheime Staatspolizei, secret state police, was the political police of Nazi Germany established in 1933. It was responsible for eliminating opposition to the Nazis and played a key role in the so-called persecution of the Jews, collaborating with the Sicherheitsdienst SD for deportations, right, to extermination camps, which modern day term for extermination camp would be a FEMA camp, internment camp, immigration camp, so on and so forth. It says under Heinrich Himmler, the Gestapo became a national agency notorious for its ruthless tactics and state terror. It was initially a Parisian state agency, but evolved into a central instrument of Nazi oppression throughout Germany and occupied territories. Right? And that's what you got going on now with what Trump is doing as far as trying to deport, so-called illegal immigrants from the United States. And also throughout the world, a lot of these governments in these countries are having the same sentiment, and they're also deporting immigrants from their territories. So it's not just here in America. The spirit has filtered throughout the world. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 8, verse 50. For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter times shall dwell in the world. And we're in the latter times right now, man. We're transitioning to a new age, right? Because they have walked in great pride, right? Because they have walked in great pride. This is especially our people, man. This is not second, but Isaiah chapter 13, verse 15. It says, everyone that is found, found what? Joined on to them, like a part of this system, whether it be spiritually, mentally, or physically, right? It says, shall be thrust through. Let's go to the NLT. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 15. It says, everyone who is captured will be cut down, run through with a sword, you know, whether it be you dying in a camp or you being shot down in these wars that are to take place, whether it be domestically or foreignly, right? Going back to the KJV, starting at the top, verse 15, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined on to them, as I mentioned before, whether it be physically, mentally, or spiritually, shall fall by the sword. Their children, and that's dealing with 2/3 of you, so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous of America, and also you heathen nations. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. And one thing that Ndub said is, or which he reiterated what one of the agents said, F those kids, right? It says their houses shall be spoiled. They were throwing people out of their houses. And once America goes into wartime, they're going to be taking your goods, spoiling you. All those things, those items, whether it be electronic or luxury or even food, they're going to be confiscating it and turning it into the hands of the military. It says, "And their wives ravished." You know, all you women out there that don't like to cover yourselves or have insufferable spirit on you that the unseen world sees, and you don't have the raw and you're not chosen, evil things are going to happen to you, things that you don't like, man. A lot of you are going to be humbled. A lot of you are going to be raped by these agents, these ICE agents, or these military men, because a woman during the time of war is nothing more but booty or spoil. And you men out there that have the heart and intend to help your woman, you're going to be destroyed too, especially and only if you're not of the elect, right? This is Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 14. It says, "Woe," which means destruction, "to the world and them that dwell therein." And those that are going to be destroyed are those that are not of the elect or the elect remnant of these heathen nations, because there's going to be a remnant of these heathen nations that are going to survive this destruction to be the first crop of slaves, you know, starting with the nation of Edom. Verse 15, it says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands," which the modern day sword is the gun in all its variations, you know, including even the high power weapons such as the missiles. It says, "For there should be sedition." Another word for sedition is anarchy among men. And that's going to take place when this economy crashes and gas skyrockets, man. I believe in California, it's already over $5 something. Here in Vegas, it's usually $1 cheaper. It says, "And invading one another," so they're going to be invading your houses. "They shall not regard their kings nor princes." They're not going to regard the law, basically. It's going to be a lawlessness. It says, "In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." These cities are going to be shut down, just like in the 2020 Chuck Norris, right? "For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid." Right? Even you tough cookies, man. Even you tough cookies are going to be afraid, man. And when I say tough cookies, I mean it in the most racist terminology, man. I'm talking about you blacks, man. You tough cookies. You're even going to be afraid, man. Verse 19, it says, "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor." Right, because it's going to be survival of the fittest. It's either you or me. It's either my children being fed to stop their cries and you dying for that to happen, or not. You get the advantage. You know, it's going to be survival of the fittest, the Hunger Games. It says, "But shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods," which they're doing now, "because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation." But right now, it's not because of a famine, but soon it will be. There's going to be a lot of death out here, man. A lot of nostrils having the stench of assholes. You know, this is 2nd Esdras chapter 16, verse 68. For behold, the burning wrath, which is Esau and his military, of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle, putting you in these concentration camps with things offered unto idols, and they're gonna present to you the sea hip, you know, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision, be shame, ridicule, and reproach. Right? Consent meaning to be in agreement, right? And in reproach and trodden underfoot. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord, which is you Israelites. They shall be like mad men. They don't care about your kids. They said F your kids. And you know, that's pulling the heartstrings, man, when you talk about women and children, and they don't give a shit about you Browns. You know, and that includes you blacks too. You blacks and browns are all the same people, man. You're in the same fight, plight, struggle. And it says sparing none. They're not gonna spare it. They ain't sparing none, man. Just like these drill rappers, how they talk about they ain't sparing nothing, right? You get the picture. It says, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, for they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. Yeah, and people also are going to know that a prophet have been among you. This is Proverbs chapter 28, verse 15, as a roaring lion. So Esau is like a roaring lion and a raging bear. So is a wicked ruler over the poor people. And who are the poor? It's you Jakes, you know? It's you Jakes. This is First Peter chapter 5, verse 8. So this is what you got to do. Be sober. You got to be serious-minded, right? Be vigilant. You got to be circumspect, because your adversary, the devil, the accuser, right? He's accusing you, Jakes, of being the scum of the earth, and you need some straightening. And, you know, other of them, they're, I guess you could call pundits. They say there needs to be a culling, right? It says, as a roaring lion walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. You know, so now it's the time to be as Clark Kent, man, you know, or Bruce Wayne. Because, you know, Bruce Wayne was Bruce Wayne during the day, but Batman at night, you know? So these are the things that are happening. This is prophecy happening, unfolding right before you people's eyes. And yet and still it's going right over your head because of the strong delusion, because really God has rejected you. You know, you have to pay for your sins if you're an Israelite that doesn't have this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? So with that, I hope at least one brother of the elect was edified, and I'm going to say shalom.